Everyone within an organization will be affected by training. You may be the person that is providing the training or the person taking the training. The company you work for has to be sure that you have the skills and knowledge needed to successfully perform your job. Throughout this course, I will provide you with many different examples of training from my past experiences. I worked in the training field for over 20 years and am now an instructional designer for a local community college. I have many different examples to share from many different companies. Significant amounts of money are allocated to training each year, and it is vital that the training performed be effective. Evidence continues to grow that shows training positively affects the bottom line for most companies. Training provides employees with the knowledge and skills to perform their jobs. What employees learn depends on how the training is designed, how it is implemented, the motivation of the learners and trainers, and many other factors. Training is a subsystem of the Human Resource Department, which is a subsystem of the company. In this class, we will look at ideal approaches to training and also practical approaches. Because of time, money, and limited training professionals, the ideal approach can't always be utilized. Training must be viewed as a part of the overall organization where needs are analyzed and training is completed to meet the needs of the company. It isn't just a set of trainings that are held once a year, whether they are needed or not. You must do a needs analysis to determine training and non-training needs, and then complete training to meet those training needs. In the graphic shown above, an open system has inputs, processes, and outputs. Inputs are things like organizational needs, employee needs, equipment. Processes are how you design the training, which is the ADDIE, analysis, design, development, implement, and evaluate, which we'll be talking more about that. And then from that, you have output, which is knowledge, skills, attitudes, motivation, or job performance. This graphic illustrates the training process. Some event triggers the need for training that then begins the need analysis phase, which leads to the design phase, to the development phase, etc. The triggering event is when someone noticed that the actual organizational performance is less than the expected organizational performance. An example I can give you of a triggering event was when I worked for Swingline Staplers. They had employees on the line that manufactured the staplers, and all of those employees spoke 5 different languages. What was unreasonable was that they had a scrap rate of 60%, which is almost unheard of in industry. When they hired our company, our goal was to provide training that was visual because of the many different languages that they spoke, and decrease the scrap rate. During the analysis phase, you determine the organizational performance gap, which basically is the difference between your actual organizational performance and your expected organizational performance. Once you figure out what this gap is, you determine how to fix it. That may be training needs or it may be non-training needs. This is often referred to as the training needs analysis, which we will talk about in detail down the road. Next is the design phase. One important part of this phase is creating training objectives. This will be very important, is a key component to any training, and we will be talking more about this later. The other part of this phase is to determine the method of instruction, the practice needed, or how the training will be organized. The next step is to implement the training. You will want to run a pilot or a dry run to make sure that everything goes well before rolling the training out to the entire organization. Usually there are adjustments or revisions of some kind needed. Finally, you must evaluate your training. Did it meet the objectives? First, process evaluations are completed to see if the training utilized the materials as suggested. Then an outcome evaluation is completed at the end of the training to see the effects of the training on the trainee, job, and the organization itself. Training that is needed in the future will continue to change. We are training students for jobs that don't even exist today. This will bring challenges to trainers and human resource managers in the future. The impact of training has shown to positively impact the organization, and research over the last years has supported this. Training objectives will need to align with a business strategy. Workers having knowledge is a competitive advantage for a company, and training helps workers achieve that knowledge. Our population is aging, and the workforce in America is becoming more diverse. Because of changes in technology and job design, It is estimated that 75% of the workforce will need retraining just to keep their current job. In many organizations, training will focus on recruiting, retention of knowledgeable workers, assessing and tracking job performance. Developing the right talent will be more and more important in the future. Quality of training programs continues to be of concern. Effective training must be continually improved. ISO, International Organization for Standardization, is a quality certification that major automobile manufacturers impose on their suppliers. Training is a major component of the certification, and we were hired many times in the past because a company was trying to become ISO certified. Specific types of training must be done by companies to meet their legal obligations. For example, sexual harassment, affirmative actions, those types of things. Some training is required by law, and failure to comply can get a company in a lot of trouble. There are many opportunities for trainers in both the public and private sectors. Some of these are listed on the screen. We will discuss this more in future chapters. There are several terms that will be important to learn because they will be utilized throughout this class. You will also hear these terms when you begin working, especially if you're working in the human resource field. So what I'd like for you to do is be sure that you go through the text and write the definitions for these terms down. Specifically, be sure when you're talking about knowledge that you include declarative, procedural, and strategic knowledge. And that also, when you're looking up skills, you include the 2 levels of skills. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, please move on to the assignments.